Once upon a time there was a very hungry bat, and so he ate everything. The end. Tonight, on Flesh Eater Courts University. Good evening, class. The new Flesh Eater Courts Ghoul King on Terrorgheist might just be the single highest damage output model in Age of Sigmar, but just how much damage does it do? Crack open that Four Loko and take a seat as we dive into just what a Terrorgheist can eat. All of the damage calculations today were performed using AOS Statshammer. If you are interested in doing your own calculations, there's a link to their site in the description below. Let's start with the basic profile of the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist. For this lesson, we will only be looking at damage output, so we only need to use abilities and characteristics necessary for damage calculation. Looking at the weapons profiles, we can see that the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist has 3 weapon profiles in combat: the Terrorgeist's Fang Maw, the Terrorgeist's Skeletal Claws, and the gory talons and fangs of the Ghoul King, hereby referred to as the Jaws, Claws, and Paws. Starting on the Paws, we have the simplest profile: 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, with 1 rend and 2 damage. Often referred to as the Holy Profile, this is as basic a combat profile for a hero as you can get. No weapon abilities, just a basic profile. Next are the Claws, with 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, and a rend of 1, 2 damage each. These attacks gain the companion and crit mortal weapon special rules. Finally, we have the Jaws, with 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 2s to wound, 2 rend, and a mighty D3 plus 3 damage characteristic. These also have the companion and crit mortal special rules. This means that if everything was perfect, all attacks hit and wounded, and your opponent failed all saves, both armor and ward, and you rolled maximum damage, you are looking at a maximum damage output of 40 wounds, which is not bad, but we are nowhere near done. Let's look at the abilities on the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist War Scroll. First is the Delusion, the Majestic Menagerie. This adds +1 to the attack's characteristics of all Flesh Eater Courts companion weapon attacks wholly within 12 inches of a Flesh Eater Courts hero, which a Flesh Eater Courts hero certainly is. This now jumps up our Jaws and Claws by 1 each, adding 8 points to our maximum damage. But wait, are you not running Usharon and finding it challenging to remember where in the Delusion you currently find yourself? Check out this handy widget from Forge Honor that helps you track your delusions between turns. Link in the description below. Next, we have the Ferocious Hunger, a rampage that makes your companion weapon attacks for this model hit on 3s instead of 4s. While this doesn't affect our maximum damage, it will affect our average damage later in the lesson. Our next ability is the passive Necromantic Limits, which, unlike the battle damage rules of other monsters, gives a battle damaged and maximum attack characteristic value to the model, capping out the maximum number of claw attacks to 10, which, as you will see, we can easily achieve. Finally, we have the rule Wicked Predator, which adds 1 to the attack characteristics to the claws for each champion, musician, or standard bearer model in an enemy unit in combat with this model. Because of this, we can often set our claw attacks to an attack's characteristic value of 10 guaranteed, and especially for this hypothetical. With these, our new maximum damage is 54. But we're not done yet. Next, we are going to add our monstrous trait added in the Scourge of Gairan special rules. We can select the Savage Abomination, bumping up both of our companion weapon attack characteristics by another 1 each, and quickly seeing why they put a cap on those claw attacks. We can also add our heroic trait, Savage Beyond Reason, which adds 1 to the attack's characteristic of every weapon profile on the model, yes, including companion weapon profiles, so long as we rest for a turn. And it adds 2 attacks instead if it's the first fight ability activation for the model this game. This cranks up our attacks even further, giving us a maximum damage of 76. But we're not done yet. We can add in an artifact of power, the Grizzly Pennant, for a bit more hitting power, giving us a potential +1 to hit. Again, useful for later in the lesson. but the secret sauce really comes from our supporting units. While none of our spells can buff the damage output of our fantastic Ghoul King on Terrorgheist, where magic fails us, the power of prayer can boost us to obscene levels. 2 prayers: Excommunication, which can both reduce the enemy defenses, not important for maximum damage, but available for the later calculations, and the Summer King's Favor, which either adds +1 damage to the damage characteristic of the pause, or allow the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist to fight twice in a single combat phase.
Yay!
But magic has completely failed us. 2 manifestations can boost our power as well. The Chalice of Usharan can allow us to crit on 5s instead of 6s, and the Purple Sun can, of course, reduce the enemy's save. But wait, there's more! Feeding Frenzy lets us, once per game, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of all friendly feckers wholly within 12 inches of a chosen hero. With all of these numbers, items, traits, abilities, hopes, and prayers combined, we have our Ghoul King on Terrorgheist rest at an outstanding maximum damage of 84 damage per activation, meaning a maximum possible damage of 168 damage per turn. But that's a maximum, right? That doesn't involve misses, saves, all the things that make a dice game a dice game. So where does our main man sit for average damage output versus various saves? Well, assuming that we have this maximum potential set going on, which includes Feeding Frenzy, Savage Abomination, Savage Beyond Reason, Excommunication on the target, the Summer King's Favor, Righteous and Acid Heat, a Majestic Menagerie Delusion, All Out Attack, Ferocious Hunger, the Grizzly Pennant, and the Chalice of Usharan's Turn Aside and suffer the consequences, versus the following spread of armor saves, remembering that the Empowered Excommunication does not allow ward saves. We can compare this to the same chart, but with the Purple Sun of Xerxes instead. Of course, we are ignoring being defensive here. That's for a different lesson. But between those 2 activations, what could possibly stand before the might of our Terrorgheist? I asked the lads over a week in Decadent to put forth their best to see if their most unpalatable units could fit on the Terrorgheist diet. These are the 3 they suggested. King Broad and King Broad's Stomp. King Broad is perhaps the traditionally beefiest single model in Age of Sigmar, with a titanic 40 health, a 4+ armor save, and the ability to use a prayer in the King Broad Stomp Army of Renown to give himself a 5+ ward save. He is not an easy thing to chew. In addition, he doesn't allow rampages against him, so goodbye Ferocious Hunger. If we assume he uses all-out defense, we get the following results with all of our buffs. As with all of these calculations, Excommunication will cancel out all-out defense and skip that ward save. Om nom nom! King Broad is a big meal, but a possible one. If we use the Purple Sun for our manifestation, we can take him down, on average, with the maxed out set. He does barely survive on a single fight if we use the Chalice instead. Now, with 2 fight activations, there's no chance, but the heavy work is being done by Excommunication, which, when boosted, is both cancelling all out defense and skipping the ward. Without XCOM, we need the double activation to kill Old Brody, even with the Purple Sun. With the ability to drop him in the perfect scenario, and the possibility to beat him even without our best prayer, King Broad is definitely on the menu. Sisters of Slaughter with all the buffs. You may not think of naked goth chicks as the most durable thing in the mortal realms, but with a host of debuffs possible to reduce our profile to nothing, Sisters of Slaughter are deceptively tanky. 20 health worth of bottles comes with the passive Dance of Diversion, reducing our hit rolls by 1, and the Locus of the Murder God from the Heart of Cain reduces our wound rolls by 1. In addition, the Scourge of Gairan Blood Shadow Rites Prayer Lore grants another -1 to wound, in case we had any bonuses. And through Scath Scale and the Scourge of Gairan Cthulhu War Scroll, they turn off our critical hits with the Prophecy of Shelter, as well as turning off our ability to use all-out attack. While Arena Veterans would give them a ward of 5+, our Excommunication is cancelling that. And of course, they can all-out defense to bring that armor save to 4+, and get another +1 save from the Cauldron. But both of those Excommunications also stopping. Ignoring the chance to get clapped back, we are left with the following. In the perfect setup scenario, we crush the sisters in a single activation. Even with all of their rules turning off our ability to remove all of their defenses means that a fraction of the power we can push through is still enough. But if we lose excommunication, yikes! Our superpowered bat is barely doing more than 10 wounds against these bikini-clad ladies, needing the second activation to kill them. And that's presuming we can live through their attack back. Are they on the menu? In theory, depending on what buffs go to whom. Finally, we've got Maximum Blight Kings. Nurgle is known as the granddaddy of bulk, infamously able to stand in the face of oncoming damage and keep on tanking. Putrid Blight Kings embody this with their health characteristic of 3, making a reinforced unit a whopping 30 wounds. They have a natural 3+ armor save, becoming a 2+ with all out defense, and a natural 5+ ward. If they are fully buffed and supported, the prayer Frothing Mucus turns off enemy abilities other than Companion, just like the Sisters of Slaughter. Bloab Rotspawned can lend a hand with his Demon Flies to give them a -1 to hit penalty, and the spell Fleshy Abundance can make enemies -1 to wound. And to top it all off, the heroic trait, Overpowering Stench, gives the chance to fail commands, which we will give them the benefit of the doubt here. And how do those numbers look? Yikers. Okay, so in only one scenario can the big bad bat finish these lads off. Excommunication needs to be up, and the Purple Sun. And fight twice. All the others fall short. Seems like the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist can only consume a reinforced, fully buffed unit of Putrid Blight Kings, technically. But technically correct is the best kind of correct, and so, yes, it can eat them!
Yay!
And now you know what is on a Terrorgheist diet. Everything. If you enjoyed the lesson, please like and subscribe, and comment below on what you think could resist the alluring jaws of the Ghoul King on Terrorgheist. Class dismissed.